My name is Randall Callanan, and I'm here today with Andre Howard, who not only was violently assaulted by two HPD officers at an arrest scene, but then he was humiliated. A group of officers on the side of the street pulled down Andre's pants in full public view, and you could see everything. There were likely children going by, all kinds of people going by, and yet this is what they did to Andre. The cases against Andre were dismissed eventually when the DA said, in the interest of justice, he will dismiss this case. So the district attorney's office saw the video of the beating, other uses of excessive force, poking in the face, using pain holds by pushing his arms over when he was completely compliant, putting him on the squad car, holding him down, pulling down his pants in front of everyone. This is a system of humiliation that is used against people of minorities much more often than other individuals. We saw a case a few years ago where right on the side of the road, a genital search was done of a young woman. So apparently it hasn't stopped. This behavior has not stopped. We need to put a stop to it. We need to have everybody, including African Americans and other minorities, treated like white people would be treated. So we filed a federal civil rights lawsuit naming all of the officers who violated Andre's rights. Lucas Vieira. He smashed Andre in the head 3 times with handcuffs, just like brass knuckles. You have the video of that, and you can hear the clinking. And if you look carefully, it's a little dark, but if you look carefully, you can see him smashing his head. This is after he's captured and in handcuffs. More on the video, which I did not give you the rest of the video because it includes the very embarrassing, very humiliating sections that we just talked about. It also shows Vieira poking him in the face. It also shows several officers using pain holds on Andre. Then several officers held him against the squad car as they pulled down his pants. And when he objected, they gave him more pain and threw him on the ground. But he has left his shorts and his pants down for all the world to see. He's in handcuffs. He can't do anything. How are you going to pull your pants up with your handcuffs on? Nothing has happened by HPD since George Floyd. Art Acevedo did nothing. Excessive force in shootings, no body cameras have been released except in the one case where there was a huge public outcry and a citizen had already taken a little cell phone showing the unlawful force. That was the only one that was shown, or on the rare occasion where the video completely exonerates the officer. But what about the dozens of more during Acevedo's reign, where there were videos, but they weren't shown? Now, Chief Finner is in charge, but he has a lawsuit against him for treating his own officers, violating his own officers' civil rights. What will Finner do in this instance? They have all the videos. They have the videos of like 6 officers showing the pulling down of the pants, the exposing on the street, the smashing on the head. Oh yeah, and Vieira, the officer who smashed him on the head, then bragged about it to Earl Atterbury, who is in the homicide division and is a sergeant. Earl Atterbury did not do anything. None of the officers at the scene, in full view, violation of Andre's civil rights, did exactly nothing. George Floyd is long gone, and we had the protest, and now nothing has happened. It's business as usual. We need the people to write to the mayor, We need body camera videos to be released. There's a long list of reforms. Some reforms have been done in other places since the death of George Floyd, but not in the hometown of George Floyd, where he's buried, where he lived most of his life, where he has most of his friends. That's no respect for George Floyd. And you see what happens when nothing is done. It's the same old, same old. We need some change. And we need some real change. Next we'll have Cynthia Polsky.
Good morning, I'm Cynthia Cole, Executive Director for Ask Me Local 1550. Y'all tired? Because the narrative keeps being the same. But you know what? No matter how many times we have these press conferences, no matter how many times we hear about these incidences, it's only 30 seconds. People go home, they get in their cushy comfort zones, and they're okay as long as it's not them. It's not your family. It's not someone that is going to be impacted up close and personal. I appeal to you all today because I'm tired of the narrative, but I'm infuriated by the levels of injustice. It's not a hard fix. It's a decision. If someone makes the decision to do what they've been trained to do by the books, right or wrong, you ain't got to beat nobody in the back of the head with the gun. You ain't got to drag them and pull their underwear down to embarrass them and teach them a lesson. There are ways for things to happen, but just don't get tired. See, the minute you get tired, then it becomes a part of the norm and you're just kind of okay. Don't be okay with it. Don't wait till it's somebody in your family. Continue to be vigilant. Please do something. Someone says, what can I do? If you got a laptop, computer, or phone, email the city. New chief in town, hold them accountable. Do those things. And citizens, we will have a universal togetherness as opposed to a universal, another press conference about a beatdown. Thank you.
My name is Shelby Stewart, S-H-E-L-B-Y-S-T-E-W-A-R-T. I'm a retired Houston police sergeant and a civil rights activist. There's a stain on the integrity of the Houston Police Department, but it is the same old Houston Police Department. All these videos, the only reason you see the video is because Attorney Callanan subpoenaed it in court. Otherwise, what happened to this young man, you would never see. Period. It is a central tenet of police departments around the country to hide police misconduct and illegalities where videos are concerned. And they do it here all the time. There's a trial for George Floyd in Minneapolis right now. But think about this. If this happened to George Floyd in Houston, Texas, and you had no video from citizens, you would never know how George Floyd died at the hands of Houston police officers. And that ought to frighten you. That's exactly why we need civilian control over the police department. We need oversight, because I can promise you, all these officers involved in this issue with this young man, nearly all of them or none of them were punished for anything.
Next one.
Good morning. My name is Agustin Pinedo. I'm the LULAC District 18 Director. LULAC and the Latino community are very concerned about the continuing police brutality that we're experiencing. It happened before Chief Acevedo, it happened during Chief Acevedo, and it's going to happen again with a new chief. until we make some important structural changes. One of them is a Citizens Review Board with full subpoena powers. The second one is to open negotiations with the police union to stop all these sweetheart deals that prevent proper investigation and punishment of bad officers. Until we do that, this is going to continue. And we need the mayor to do it, or the new mayor, perhaps. We need to get a mayor that's truly committed to making changes, because changes have to be made. People are abused all the time. People are humiliated like this young man. And the thing is that we need to put a stop to it, because otherwise it will continue. It will continue maybe with us, with our children, with our children's children. So we need to do those things. So I thank you.
One of these is a pool for Telemundo and Univision. So you want to speak a little Spanish too?
En español también. Muy buenos días. Estamos aquí en apoyo para esta organización que están apoyando a este joven que fue arrestado nomás por traer a una registración expirada, y luego le pusieron las esposas, y luego trató de correr y luego lo alcanzaron y lo golpearon con las esposas en la cabeza, y luego aparte de eso lo asustaron, y este joven se defecó, o sea que se ensució en los pantalones. Entonces él reclama que los oficiales le jalaron los pantalones hasta abajo, exponiendo sus partes privadas al público, y esto es una violación de sus derechos civiles. Es precisamente lo que estamos diciendo, que esto tiene que parar. Eso son tratar de humillar a la persona y golpearlo. Gracias. ¿Cualquier pregunta? Thank you.
Next one here from Noel Pinnock.
Andre, come on over here, brother. You guys have already heard. Andre, how old are you?
34.
34. Andre could be my little brother. And the way Andre was treated, I would be appalled if my little brother would have come home and reported not only the physical scars that he sustained during an encounter with a professional sworn officer and officers, but I would have been appalled at the internal scars that oftentimes are unmitigated, because we don't treat the internal, we only treat the external. So regardless of how the federal lawsuit disposition, we still have to look at how is Andre as a whole person who will one day become a father, one day lead his family into achieving the American dream. But that American dream comes to a screeching halt when we have individuals who are sworn to protect and serve, but do little to provide dignity and respect. See, we always talk about protect and serve, but we forget to mention about dignity and respect. In every profession that I know, that under the face of this planet, this sun, there's always a code of ethics by which people are to engage. Now, I know some great patrol officers, senior police officers, sergeants, lieutenants, commanders, assistant chiefs in this department right here. But how often are we going to hear that we got some bad people and we got some good people? It's almost the same as saying to American Airlines, we got some great pilots and we got some bad pilots. Some of our pilots like to fly and land and others don't. How does that make sense? Vice President Kamala Harris said bad cops are bad for good cops. And we must make a fundamental decision as to how our police agencies are going to govern. We cannot rely on self-governance. We have to rely on a national presence that puts policing at the forefront, but at least align the code of ethics that governs the way you treat people. The last time I checked, can you hold your hand out, Mr. Andre? These are 5 fingers, not hoofs. We don't treat people like animals, but guess what? Some people will treat animals better than they do people. And it's time for us to put out this ember that's continuing to burn across this country. Minnesota, another police officer shot and killed a 20-year-old person over a traffic stop. This could have been the fatal result of Mr. Andre had it not been through the will of God. But again, ladies and gentlemen, it is time for action. If you're going to serve and protect, do it with dignity and respect. Thank you.
Next we're from Jeff Reese.
Hi, I'm Jeff Reese. I'm with the Houston Peace and Justice Center, and once again, we're here over a Class C misdemeanor that's only punishable by a fine, and yet a young man yanked out of his car, and all this happened to him for what reason? What was solved? How many times are we going to press conferences over the same thing over and over again, where you have a Class C misdemeanor, a traffic ticket? Again, if this was your brother, your cousin, your father, what about a family member? Would you treat them this way? No, you would not. Why was he even taken out of his car for expired registration? He could have been given a citation and gone on his way. My question is this: if they treated him like this, what do they do when they handle a sexual assault victim? What are these officers doing? Where's the accountability? I don't think these people should even be police officers after what happened to this young man. That's horrendous. If it wasn't for the courage of Andre, we wouldn't be here. It takes a lot of courage to stand up for what happened to him. So it's going to take a lot of courage for these Sunday school Christians to stand up, get out of church for that 1 hour on Sunday, and do something about it. We had a 40-member task force that gave the city mayor what to do. Well, how many years now? Nothing's been done. We have a new police chief. Let's see what he does. What's going to happen? And again, it's only a matter of time before we hear it when somebody dies like George Floyd. I just came from Pinehurst last month. Young man got his neck broken over a traffic fine. How many people are willing to die and get abused over a traffic ticket? And we need to stop, and the citizens need to stop it. And they need to stand for what's going on. And that's all I have to say. Thanks.
Thank you. I think that's all our speakers besides Andre. Before we get to Andre, does anyone have any questions about anything that was said so far? And then we'll get to Andre. Okay, no questions. Well, Andre is here because there is a lawsuit pending. He's not going to get into the detailed facts, but he is willing to. We're willing to answer general questions. He's been instructed to ask general questions like, "What do you want accomplished? How do you feel?" and all that. So, if anyone has any questions for Andre, you can take your mask off.
What would you like to see happen because of this?
Well, I want to say that growing up, you know, I'm from Houston, and I want to say that police brutality has been normalized. Like, growing up where I grew up, people are used to police brutality, and I want to say that police brutality needs to be stopped amongst black people and Hispanics, because we've been dealing with it. Police brutality is normal. Like, I didn't think nothing of it. Like, I didn't even think nothing of it. I've been knowing people that been getting beat up by police, and I'm thankful to be here after I went through what I went through. People been going through it, so it's nothing new to me. I'm not even surprised about it. It's been going on forever since I was young. When I was young, I seen people get beat up by the police in my neighborhood. Where I grew up at, people got beat up, police jump out, search them, beat them up for nothing. I've been seeing it, so I just want to say, you know, because I was humiliated and everything that I went through, the trauma that I suffered from it, you know, I want to just say that it needs to stop I mean, just, it ain't right, it ain't right.
So you're hoping to send a message to HPD? Tell me
Yes, I mean, you know, everywhere is not right. I mean, it should be no excessive force. Once you have a person in handcuffs or once you have them obtained, you don't need to beat them up after that. After you got them in cuffs, you don't have to beat them up. You got them already. Why beat them up when they in handcuffs?
What do you think HPD should do with the cops involved here?
Or not only that, shoot them when they ain't doing nothing, or shoot them when you know you shouldn't even be shooting them. That's like for even people in the streets. People in the streets know. You know what I mean, you shooting people and you know you shouldn't even be shooting them. Come on, man. killing them.
And what do you think HPD should do with the officers who are involved in your case?
I mean, they need to deal with them accordingly. I mean, if they violated policy, they need to be punished. It should be a thorough investigation, and you know.
All right, well, thank you so much. Thanks for showing up. We appreciate it. Anybody else have anything left to say? Any thoughts? All right, well, this concludes the press conference tonight. Thank you very much for showing up. Appreciate it.